Soft rain falls outside the window, the sound of quiet footsteps, a long table polished, bright lights above, every seat is taken except one. An empty chair stands at the far end. Simple, ordinary, but not meaningless. Bill Gates looks at it for a moment. Before the meeting begins, that chair, it's not just furniture, it's a reminder. Years ago, before Microsoft became a global name, Bill was a man obsessed with technology. Every day was about speed, innovation, competition. There was always another deal, another deadline, another dream to chase. Then came a trip that changed everything. He flew to India to visit small villages where his foundation had started projects for health and education. He expected progress. He expected smiles. But what he saw stayed with him forever. In one of those villages, Bill met a little girl named Asha. She was sitting on the floor of a dim classroom. No shoes, no books, just eyes full of dreams. He sat beside her and asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" She looked down shyly and whispered, "A teacher, so every child here can learn." Her answer touched his heart, but the teacher standing nearby told him quietly, "She hardly comes to school. Her parents can't afford food. She has to work in the fields." That night, Bill couldn't sleep. He kept seeing her face, those eyes that carried both hope and pain. It hit him deeply. The world could celebrate his success, but millions of people were still waiting for something as simple as a chance. When he returned to Seattle, Bill called a meeting. Everyone came with numbers, charts, projections, but before the meeting began, Bill placed an empty chair at the table. One of his executives asked, "Who's that for?" Bill said quietly, "This chair belongs to the person we forget, the one who uses our technology, but never gets a seat at the table. Every decision we make should include them." From that day on, the empty chair became a part of every important meeting. IT stood for the missing voice, the voice of humanity. But the story didn't end there. Years later, when Bill's father, William Gates Sr., passed away, Bill sat alone in his office. The city lights shimmered below. On his desk was a photo of him and his father laughing together years ago. His father once told him, "Son, success means nothing if it doesn't lift others." Bill looked across the room at that same empty chair and whispered, "This one's for you too, Dad." From that day, the chair carried two meanings, one for the people without a voice, and one for the man who taught him to listen. A few years later, Bill was invited to a global leadership conference. The hall was packed with CEOs, politicians, journalists. When Bill walked on stage, everyone noticed the empty chair beside him. He smiled softly and began, "People often ask why I keep an empty chair beside me. The reason is simple. It reminds me that leadership begins with listening. When I make decisions, I imagine someone sitting here, a child without education, a family fighting disease, a farmer waiting for rain. That chair represents them. It reminds me that our work means nothing if it doesn't reach them." The audience grew silent. Some smiled, some wiped tears. Then he said quietly, "When my father passed away, I added one more meaning to this chair. It reminds me of him, a man who taught me that kindness is the highest form of intelligence." He looked at the chair again and said, "So even when I sit alone, I'm never really alone." That simple chair became a global symbol of empathy and leadership. Many companies around the world began keeping an empty chair in their own meetings for the customer, the community, and the forgotten voice. Later, when Melinda Gates was asked about it, she smiled and said, "For Bill, that chair is a reminder of who he is, where he came from, and what he stands for. It keeps him grounded. Because true greatness isn't measured by how much you own, but by how much you care." Bill Gates once said, "Empathy is more valuable than intelligence, because intelligence builds things, but empathy gives them meaning." Even today, in every meeting he attends, there's still that one empty chair. Sometimes it represents a child like Asha, sometimes it represents his father, and sometimes it represents all of us. waiting, hoping, believing that someone, somewhere, is listening.